Can Daenerys have children? For a while now there has been a debate within the A Song of Ice and Fire fan community as to whether or not Daenerys Targaryen is capable of having children. This all stems from her run-in with the witch Mirri Maz Duur, who was responsible for turning Khal Drogo into a vegetable and for causing Daenerys' unborn son Rhaego to die in her womb. Now, it's widely believed that Rhaego's essence as such would transfer over to Dany's dragon Drogon. However, many are still at odds as to whether or not she can be the mother of anything other than dragons. When the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, when the seas go dry and mountains blow in the wind like leaves, when your womb quickens again and you bear a living child, then he will return and not before. The witch Mirri Maz Duur tells this prophecy to Daenerys in the book A Game of Thrones, and at first reading it seems in pretty black and white terms that it will be near impossible for Dany to conceive a child. After all, the sun rising in the west and setting in the east, mountains blowing away like leaves, these words are almost impossible to fathom when looked at from a literal perspective. However, when you really examine what it is that's said, maybe there is a chance for the Targaryen line to continue through Daenerys after all. When the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. I remember first reading this line and being like, well, that's it then, she'll always be infertile. However, A Song of Ice and Fire fans far cleverer than myself realise that this line almost certainly pertains to Quintin Martell, son of Doran Martell, Prince of Dawn. Now let me just quickly say, spoilers for those of you who haven't yet read the book A Dance with Dragons, but basically Quintin Martell, a character who was unfortunately cut from the show, was sent by his father Doran to convince Dany to honour a marriage pact originally meant for Doran's daughter Arianne and Dany's brother Viserys. Dany, however, unknowing of this pact, refuses Quintin Martell's proposal, and so foolishly, Quintin attempts to steal one of her dragons and ends up roasted in dragonfire. As Quintin is a Martell whose house standard depicts a red sun, he is thought to be the sun that rises in the west, i.e. he was born in Westeros, and sets in the east, i.e. he dies in Essos. When the seas go dry and mountains blow in the wind like leaves. This line, while at first seeming insurmountable, can also apply quite neatly to Dany's world and journey. The sea in question is thought to be the Dothraki Sea, a large inland region of Essos that Daenerys had to cross early in her journey. Then it had been relatively bountiful and green, but when she revisits the Dothraki Sea after Drogon lands there at the end of A Dance with Dragons, she thinks to herself, even here autumn made its presence felt, and winter would not be far behind. The grass was paler than she remembered, a wan and sickly green on the verge of going yellow. After that would come brown, the grass was dying. As for the mountain that blows in the wind like leaves, this line, although slightly more tenuous in its association, is believed to represent the pyramids that fall after two of Dany's dragons escape their captivity and wreak havoc upon the city of Meereen. The pyramid of Hazkar has collapsed into a smoking ruin, and many of that ancient line lie dead beneath its blackened stones. Then there is the line, when your womb quickens again and you bear a living child. Now some believe this line refers to the river called the Womb of the World, where Daenerys bathes to clean herself after eating the horse's heart, and upon whose shores she has sex with Khal Drogo. But another and perhaps preferred interpretation is after consuming questionable food and water when stranded in the Dothraki Sea, Daenerys, for the first time perhaps since her encounter with Mirri Maz Duur and the birth of her dragons, has her period, signifying that her womb is again revitalized. She was bleeding, but it was only woman's blood. The moon is still a crescent though. How can that be? She tried to remember the last time she had bled, the last full moon, the one before that. No, it cannot have been so long as that. Moon blood, it's only my moon blood, but she did not remember ever having such a heavy flow. Could it be the water? If it was the water, she was doomed. She had to drink or die of thirst. I believe that the conditions have been met for the very last line of this prophecy to be fulfilled. That Daenerys is not barren, or rather is no longer barren, and that she will indeed bear a living child, and once she does, then he will return and not before. We'll discuss the he referred to in this line in tomorrow's video, but for now I think we can safely assume that Daenerys Targaryen is capable of having children once again and carrying on the Targaryen line. Whether or not she will is a different question altogether. Thank you everybody for watching this video today. Please be sure to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, as it really does help me out, and I'll see you all again very soon.